Welcome to Huddle Up, and we are back with another episode and featuring a couple of quarterbacks. With me, as always, is Rob Clock. How you doing, Rob? Good to have you with us.
Doing
And
great.
special
Great to be
guest,
here.
good. Special guest tonight, Brycen Mussina, gunslinger from just recently, like what, 2021? Was that the graduation year, Brycen?
Yep. Just a young buck. Yeah,
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 there you
yeah.
go. Good to have you with us, man. Thanks for the time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, good. And we want to thank our sponsors. We had a bunch of sponsors help us out for the spring game. This week we're thanking Pour My Beer and Josh Goodman, who was a sponsor at the spring game. We want to thank all of our sponsors, man. It made spring game a great event. We had a great time, and everybody try to get there next year. It'll be back. We're going to do that every year. So here we go. Let's talk to Brycen. Rob, go ahead.
All right, let's get it started. So first we're going to ask you about your path to Shippensburg. Now, I know you went to Montoursville High School. You started your college career at Lafayette College. How did you end up at Ship? Who recruited you? How'd that whole process work?
Yeah, so I went to Montoursville, played baseball, basketball, football, and track actually too. Fun
Wow.
fact. But
All around
yeah,
athlete.
I was trying to beat my dad's record how many letters he got, and I got him. So if nothing else,
Nice.
I got him in that. No, but yeah, so played all the sports, had a great time in all of them. It kind of came down to baseball and football though, and kind of similar opportunity as I was getting to the end of high school, and yeah, a lot of interest from like kind of Ivy, CAA, Patriot League type schools, but I kind of felt stuck in between. Like those schools were really interested, but no offers, and then the D2 schools were all obviously interested, but they were kind of um, like, well, you're gonna go Division 1, so we're not really gonna bother. So it's like, but I'm like, yeah, but I didn't get any offers yet, so kind of stuck in the middle there, but ended up getting an opportunity from John Garrett at Lafayette. I went to a camp in Richmond. He ends up they didn't want to offer me there, but he ends up getting the job at Lafayette, and so I took that, and yeah, I went to Lafayette for a semester, and things didn't go quite as I planned. It was a new coach, obviously that I came in with, but there were four remaining quarterbacks and four freshmen, so we had a big quarterback room, and but it went okay. Got to the end of camp and was third out of the eight, third string. The only problem was the two ahead of me were also freshmen, so
Right.
um, that wasn't ideal. But so hung in there. Got to about the middle of the year though. We weren't winning a lot of games, and the outlook didn't look great. I think it was week 6 or 7 was the first chance the second string guy got, and we were like 2-5. So thought, what, I think I might try something else here. So um, come to the end of the year, and I waited till the end of the season. But this is kind of another fun fact. This was before the portal, so it was a
Yeah.
little bit different,
Yeah.
a little bit tougher to do the process of transferring. So um, I had to meet with coach individual. Like now, I think it's a little different. You can go to the AD, say, look, you still got to do the paperwork and stuff, but say, look, I want to transfer. Um, but that wasn't the case then. I had to go in, really had to kind of he had to release me, so I really had to kind of campaign for my case, and so went through that and ended up getting the papers for that and everything. And yeah, so then I left there with all my belongings and my papers and stuff, and didn't know where I was going to be in January. So um, there was I pretty much knew it was going to be PSAC. He made sure before he released me that it wasn't going to be another Patriot League school, but um, I knew it was probably going to be PSAC. Bloom's close to home for me. IUP showed a lot of interest, but I remembered Coach Morgan. He recruited me pretty heavily out of high school, and I just remember him saying, "Man, if anything doesn't go right, just keep us in mind." And more than one coach said that, but I just remember the couple meetings with him that I had, and so he was one of the really only two or three because I actually was considering going to Penn College and not playing football. So he was one of the two or three coaches that I hit up, and we obviously got back in touch. I took a visit down in the winter. Nobody was there. I'd never been to a Ship game,
Lucky.
but yeah. So I was like, I was. It actually kind of worked out well. I was pretty much settled on Ship, and a friend of mine who ended up is still a good friend of mine. Craig McCracken, he played at Lowestoft, so one of my high school rivals. He went to Penn State, I went to Lafayette, and then we both were transferring. We end up both going to Ship, so we roomed together when we get there. So that was just kind of a that helped too. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got to Ship. I met with the coaches and stuff when I visited. I liked it. I liked the vibe. I like um, that was coming off the 2017 season too. When where they were 10-2, great season. So all good things. So yeah, I that's how I ended up at Ship.
Well, you stepped in though, and I mean you were a pretty hot item when you stepped in at Shippensburg. I mean you were rookie of the year. Is that what it was? Rookie of the year, freshman of the year? I forget.
Yeah.
I think
Well, yeah. So
I think Rob was also. Weren't you, Rob? Didn't you tell me you were rookie of the
I
year?
wasn't PSAC. I was just the team rookie of the year. I think
That
Brycen, you were the
close
PSAC
enough.
freshman of the year, right?
uh, yeah, and yeah, I there was some kind of I don't remember what the committee was or whatever, but I won Division II Freshman of the Year award as well,
Yeah,
which was really
ECAC or
cool.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean there
We'll
was a lot in between there though.
talk about that freshman year. What the heck was that like, man? That had to have some
Well,
moments.
so yeah, I mean just even to lead into that, so I transferred there, and I remember like a week or two before I'm finishing the paperwork, it's like the middle of January. I'm about to report in a week, and finish everything up, go into the spring with Coach Morgan and Seti and Coach Tomasetti. And there's a couple older guys. I'm just trying to learn the way. I know how this works, and I gotta earn my time here. And but I think that did help me confidence wise. Coming in and you know, uh, guy, not that it meant anything, but guys, oh, what was it like Division 1? What's the difference and stuff. But I think it did help me confidence wise because, I had a little bit more moxie maybe knowing, I can play. So, but yeah, so I get there, with Morgan and we go through the spring and things are going fine, but I don't think by any means I was going to start and Morgan leaves. And so, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I went from high school, I did one semester at Lafayette, whole new offense. Then I come to Ship, a whole new offense for a semester, and then Morgan leaves, and here we go again. So summer goes, they finally hired Coach Carell, and in the summer, and I show up, but I still, I haven't earned anything yet, and but just kind of not by dumb luck, but kind of, my style was more to Carell's type of offense than the other guys who were more, had more of a dual threat presence than I did. And so that played in my favor, a lot because, um, I next thing you know, it's coming to the end of camp. I'm right, I might start, and I'm gonna start, and it was like, it was quick, but that's what you're waiting for. Some guys wait 3-4 years for that, so you're not gonna take it for granted. But yeah, it was crazy. So that was quick, and but here we go. And then we had a pretty explosive offense that year. We had a lot of playmakers. Carell called a pretty aggressive game, and he wasn't afraid to sling it. And we had kind of a dynamic for the time. We ran the RPOs more than a lot of guys did, or more than they did then, and it really worked. It really worked for us. We had a pretty good year.
What were some of your numbers? Can you run through any of that? Can you recall that?
I'm not crazy with stats. I mean, I remember my first start was out, and we played Clarion, but we played them in Pittsburgh. It was like an exhibition type game,
Oh yeah.
and because I think it was like the 50th show, matchup or something like that. And so we actually played in that semi-pro soccer stadium, like right on the river in
Oh yeah.
Pittsburgh, and that was a really
Yeah.
cool. That was a neat experience. And it's my first start, so I'm like, I'm just trying to take it all in, but trying to stay focused. Um, and I think that game I had like 348 and four, something like that. And
Wow.
so I'm thinking, man, this is easy, and like this is everybody can do this. So yeah, that was, but I learned quickly, but yeah, I mean, we had some crazy ones. I don't know, I honestly don't remember any. I had some like bigger individually, I had some bigger games, in the following years, but I averaged pretty high that year. which was cool. And it spoke to my team even more than me. I mean, I wasn't anything super special, but man, we had some great receivers. We had a good defense that year. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a lot of players, and that stuff all went into it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I remember having my first touchdown that game, my first college touchdown that game. That was cool. Um, Dude, just a little swing pass to Sean Judge, but I do remember that. Um, but we had Winston Eubanks. That was when Josh Gunterick just got there. We had Shea O'Donnell and Dave Ballant. I mean, we had, a lot of good players, um, explosive players and experienced guys too up on the line. We had some experience, which was huge. And yeah, I mean, we had some good games, and we should have won a lot more games that year. We had some close games that we lost that, in hindsight, we should have won. We knew we should have won. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was a great year. That was the year we beat IUP. That was obviously a highlight.
That's always
Um,
that's always a bonus.
It's always
yeah, that was
yeah.
huge. And we were 5-5 going into that, trying to hold on to the 500 season streak, and they were like 9-1 or something like that. All they needed to do was beat us to go to playoffs, and we were able to knock them off that day. So
Nice.
um, that was a fun one. It was like dumping snow when we showed up. I remember that, and cold, windy and cold, but we showed up, man. We played a good game that day, and we got them.
Nice.
Well, let's fast forward a few seasons, and unfortunately, you had to go through and experience the COVID as a player, as a college student, and just as a person. How did that affect you? Like, we all lived through it, but we had a different perspective. For you, a kid in college, and unfortunately end up losing a season to it. What was that like?
Um, I don't know, and I think maybe it was probably different for everybody because some teams played. That was weird. Like some teams played, and it was very unclear leading up to it. Like, oh, we're gonna play in the spring. Now we're gonna try to play, and then, well, Division One's gonna play, but Division Two's not, and then it's like partial seasons, and so that was confusing. It was a lot of, honestly, more than anything, it was a lot of like just what's going on kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it was disappointing to lose that season because and everybody can say this, but I think we had a good club that year coming off a tough season. There was a lot of guys that we wanted to prove, we were a better team than that, we were a better group than that. So that hurt a little bit because then we ended up losing some guys to the portal, some guys that didn't come back because they were graduated. So in that sense, that kind of stunk. But yeah, it was definitely a weird thing for an athlete and for a student because you're doing classes in your apartment, and you're trying to make sure all the guys are going to class and getting things done. But then at the same time, like workouts were a little weird at first because we couldn't go to the weight room. But then once we kind of got settled in, and things kind of went like actually that fall and then the spring, like those, I don't know, that really, I think that might have contributed to how good of a season in 21 we had our last season because, just that much more time. Like, once the guys decided whether they were going to stay another season or not, all right, then everybody knows, here we go. So we were able to spend so much more time that whole fall and the following spring, developing as teammates and as, offense and defense and, lifting, all that stuff, physically developing. So there was pros to it too. But yeah, definitely disappointing because you only get so many seasons, and that
Or
that kind of takes a chunk out of it there. So
It's interesting. You talk about that you guys got closer, you worked together over that time. Talk about that team that team, 21, I guess that was, how that team bonded, and maybe talk about some of your teammates. I know, you apparently, from what I hear from Cam Tinner, you're a good teammate, and talk about some of the relationships, maybe not even on the field, even in the locker room, and how you guys connected.
yeah, yeah, that ended up being a really good season. We had a lot of good leaders on that team. You know, and it was cool. I mean, I didn't come in with them as freshmen, but one semester later, so I had known them for pretty much just as long as everybody else. And
Mhm.
so, there was a lot of good leaders on that team, and a lot of uh, good teammates. I mean, guys like Trey Paul, who was one of our captains. he was a staple on the defense. He has a pretty cool story of where how he came into Ship and where he got to, and the role that he played on that defense our last year, and the success that we had. But yeah, I mean, Tanner obviously, great player and great team player, great teammate, good friend of mine now still, and would do anything for you, for the team. You know, came in as a fullback and ended up, on D line, and contributing like, heavily by the end of his career. So, guys like that, I mean, guys that were there for a long time. A guy like Casey Evans that year was a great receiver for us, and he was like, I think he was like 25 or so. I mean, went to Clarion and then he transferred and then he sat for a year and then COVID happened. So like,
Oh, wow.
so many different guys that, had different paths to get there and different, just different people. But man, we were able to string some wins together that year. We had a really good time doing it.
Well, a few weeks ago, we did have Cam and his dad Clyde on here directly from Tinner's Tavern, of course. And actually, I think you and I have had a few beers in Tinner's Tavern before.
I think
So,
I think I've brushed shoulders with you there before.
so my question is this: Cam gave you some very high praise in the podcast as a player, an overall athlete, and really as a person and a friend. How does that make you feel when you're watching the podcast the next week? You're watching your buddy, you want to have some good laughs, and he's being very honest and somewhat sentimental about a good friend. I know you were in his wedding. Like, that had to feel good. What's that like?
It did feel good, man. I knew he was going to say something, but I didn't know if it was going to be, a dig or something. So that was nice. That was really good to hear from a friend like that. I mean, Tanner's been, he was one of the first guys to kind of welcome us, myself and Craig. Like I said, my roommate at the time, we both transferred in together. So we kind of inherently were, did most things together because we were kind of the only friends we had to start with. But right away, Tanner, and along with other guys, Dave Allen, you know, all of those guys, Zacher, Josh Zacher, the whole gang. But you know, uh, they really welcomed us in, and not just Tanner, but his parents, like you're talking about the tavern. I've been an Eagles fan my whole life. I watched the Eagles win the Super Bowl in the tavern, so um, the whole Tanner family, made my time at Ship better because you know anytime it was a birthday and Trisha would make some food for us and we'd go over or but all those things in hindsight they're part of the experience. That's the stuff you remember, so they definitely played a part in making my time at Ship good, and I'll always appreciate that.
Well, most of the time, when you say a teammate's going to say something about you, it's usually trash talking.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Yeah.
So when somebody says something nice, you're kind of shocked by it.
No, I was like, man, I don't know I didn't know what to expect, so that was nice.
So we're gonna, jumping back to you as a youth. I know you said you're a multi-sport athlete, and you even dropped the hint that you tried to outletter your dad in high school. And what's it like growing up as the son of Mike Mussina, Hall of Fame, pitcher? What was that like as a kid? A lot of pressure,
There's pressure, why aren't you playing baseball? What about this? But it
right?
was never anything too serious. And he was always very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. If I wanted to golf, like my brother does, or if I went whatever, I mean, he would have been cool with that. So, I never, at the end of the day, I never felt too much pressure because I knew he had my back and that always helped. Um, so yeah, but it was definitely it's been a cool experience to be able to have something like that. And I was at Ship actually when I heard that when he called me to tell me he was making the Hall of Fame. So that was a pretty neat time too because I told my buddies, I said, hey, it's not official yet, I haven't announced it, but here's the inside scoop. I think I told Tanner and told the guys before it broke on ESPN and stuff. So I think they
Nice,
might remember that. That was a fun time.
excellent.
Nice. Well, I have to tell you, I don't know if you remember this, but during the 21 season up at East Stroudsburg, we had a tailgate, and when you guys were walking from the victory back, a bunch of us were there. I got to meet your dad at that tailgate. And, what a pleasure for me. And again, he's a little bit younger than me, but I still was a little bit starstruck because, again, I grew up fairly close to you, just a little bit south of you. So, of course, I always knew who Mike Mussina was. But that was a huge thrill for me. And it's just a very nice gentleman. And that was a great game. That was a good way to, wrap it up there in the 21 season up at East Stroud. But you being a quarterback, here's my question for you. So we do have a bunch of young QBs head into the season back at Chip. What advice would you give them heading into PSAC play?
I mean, the PSAC is legit, as everybody knows, and I think just if I could go back, I think like I mentioned earlier, just have that confidence. You're there for a reason. You're competing for the job for a reason. Just have the confidence that in yourself, because if you don't think you can play, then the chances of someone else believing in you are pretty low, and the guys around you see that. So, have the confidence, even if you have to manufacture it at first. Have the confidence, and and just remember that the things that you do on and off the field, people are looking at you all the time. That's kind of one of the special things about the quarterback position. It can be a curse, but if you look at it as a blessing, it can be a blessing because you can really set the tone. So you can, everybody looks at you, even if you're a young guy. The way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak, the way that you know, the decisions you make, um, the accountability that you hold, responsibility, and uh, that stuff goes a long way, and people see that. Whether nobody may ever say anything about it at all, but they see the things that you do, and they see the way you carry yourself, and they see the way that you act, and that can go a long way when it comes down to it. And you're fighting for a job. That might be what tips the scale. So I just think, you know, remember those things as you're working. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Nice.
Good advice. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, Brycen. So what the heck are you up to today? So what
Yeah, so
you've been out of school, what, 3 years? 3 years?
yeah, I think, yeah, 3 years it's been. I'm working for the family business doing property management, property maintenance type things, and I do and of course my degree is in environmental science, so I try to keep that, you know, on the back burner, keep that kindled
Mhm.
kind of thing, and keep up with that stuff because I still have an interest in that. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that, and getting married in July, so that's fun. So that'll
Nice.
be
Congrats.
yep, thank you. So um yeah, and I'm living in Montoursville yet, and yeah, man, having fun. I got a dog, no kids yet, but I got a dog, and we have a lot of fun.
Now, I know your dad still coaches high school basketball, right? Is there any of that maybe in your future? Could you be helping out at some level with a certain team, or are you going to wait till the kids come along?
I think I will. I helped out with the quarterbacks and the offense the first year, yeah, the first season after I graduated from Ship. Um, and I did help out with that. And my cousin was actually one of the quarterbacks, so that was a neat experience to have. But
That's
I
nice.
just mainly struggled with time. I could only be there like 3 or 4 days a week, and
Right.
it didn't sit that well with me. I wanted to put more time. If I was gonna do it, I wanted to put more time in it. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely be involved in the future. But for right now, I'm not.
Sounds like you seniors are all pretty much multi-sport athletes. What's the favorite sport? What do you like the most?
I think it kind of changes with age too, because there's certain things that you can and can't do,
Tell me
or at
about
least are hard. But I think like football obviously was my favorite. But it's like I could play flag or something now, but it's not quite the same. So, um, I like to play. Well, so I just had a game last night to pick up or a Y League basketball game,
it.
and so that's been really fun. My brother convinced me to join their team, so that was a really good time, and I put more effort into that than I probably want to admit, but it's a blast. So have fun with that. Probably golf now because it's the thing that most of my buddies would do the most. So that's I spend time with my friends and my dad and my brother as well. So that's been cool to play with those guys, and it's kind of a like I said, it's one that you can continue to play. So that's kind of moving forward. That's something that I can, look to improve on. You know what I mean? So,
It's tough.
so
It's tough to
that's,
step. It's tough to
yeah, I think those are probably the main two.
it's tough to step out of the competition. You're always kind of looking for the game. A competition, a match, whatever it is.
Yeah, it is. You have to kind of find different ways to scratch that itch. You gotta try to do it in business, or but you still kind of want that sports competition. It's
Yep.
a little bit different. There's something about it, man. You still get. I find myself, getting, like I said, getting excited at the ref or something at the Y. I'm thinking, man, what am I? But it's just in our blood, man. It's the way that it is.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to try to find out if Mac can put my foursome right behind you and Cam Tinner on May 17th. And I'm going to heckle you guys like crazy because I can't golf for crap. So,
I
but
was
I
gonna
can
say,
heckle for the best of
if
them.
you're hitting into us, I'm gonna turn around and hit back then.
I'll never reach you. Don't worry about it. All right. So we ask every guest this, and I know sometimes it's hard, but your favorite memory, your favorite moment from Ship. Usually we're talking about on the football field, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just, something that specifically stands out, triggers a memory, whatever. What would it be
Um,
of you over your couple real good seasons you had there?
our whole last year, I think, um was something that we were all pretty. I mean, I was pretty proud of. We were all pretty proud of. I think that was coming off the rough 19 year, and then a whole having to think about it for a whole extra year, and then having the success that we had in 21. I think it's not a specific moment, but that whole year, I think we were all pretty proud of what we were able to accomplish that year. Yeah, we didn't win, two of the games that we really, if there was two that I could have back, it was probably those two losses. But because we were a good team going against good teams. But I think that year, we were all pretty proud of that year because of just the circumstances and you know, obviously last year, you want to have a good one. And I think all in all, we're close to maximizing our potential that year. I think we really came together. We played well on both sides of the ball, and we did things right. And I just think, yeah, I think we didn't make the playoffs, unfortunately, because of that rule. Tanner talked about it a little bit because
Crazy.
then that was kind of, yeah, that was unfortunate. But like you said, rarely does somebody get to win their last game of their career. So if
Yeah.
nothing else, that was nice for us. But my last year, some people seem to forget sometimes that I got benched for the first game of the year. And so, but fortunately for me, I had opportunity to come in and prove myself. And I had no impressive stats that day. I don't know, I think I had 170 yards or something like that. Um, but I was proud of myself and how I was able to uh, step in and take the opportunity, and we ended up coming back and winning that game. And I just remember coming off the field and kind of looking up at my family, and so that was a pretty cool memory. Just kind of selfishly, but anyway, yeah. I mean, if you ask the question, that's something that I remember.
That's reality. Yep. No, I
Nothing.
get it.
Yep.
I get it.
Yeah. Nothing
Especially
selfish.
quarterbacks. We can get
Yeah.
benched pretty quickly.
Yep.
Nothing selfish about that at all, man. That's impressive. That's a lot of guys would walk away, put their head down, sit on the bench, and complain. That's great. That's a great story. Well, man, that's all we had for tonight, Brycen. You did a heck of a job. You're obviously an intelligent young man. You did a great job tonight. We really appreciate you joining us.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you guys for having me. That was a fun time. I hope I didn't ramble too much or anything, but that was
Not
fun.
at all. Great talking to you. Enjoy always, especially I'm on Toursville, boy. We have to send a quick shout out to Steve Meets Melito. Okay,
Yeah,
because when
baby.
he found out you were coming, because he's from South Williamsport. Oh man, all we did was hear about you, and he knew all your stats. And Steve is just a great guy, very knowledgeable, but he was a huge Mussina fan. So just know that.
Yeah, no, he was a great guy. Saw him a lot down there. He made as many games as he could, and that was always cool to see. But yeah, thanks guys for having me. This is cool what you guys are doing. This is a pretty fun thing. Like I was telling you, I've watched a good bit of probably most of the podcasts, and it's neat to see the input from these guys that played before me. And yeah, I can't wait to see where it goes. I think it's cool you guys are doing too with the scholarship stuff. I think that's only going to help um, the program. I mean, that's a really cool thing. You can only do what you can do, but um, it's not going to hurt, it's going to help. So that's a cool thing to see, because I remember when I first learned the scholarships that some of the other schools had compared to us, and it's just like it's a frustrating thing as a player, knowing the situation you're in and looking at recruits, and this the you know we only have so much to offer. So it's cool you guys are doing, and yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad I could be a part of this.
Great. Well, thanks for joining the
Yeah.
club too, and you're an RR4 member, and we appreciate that, man. Get those young guys involved. Get your buddies
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool.
Good. Okay, well, we're going to thank our sponsor, Josh Goodman, one more time at Pour My Beverage, and all of our sponsors who helped us out for spring game. Rob, thanks a million. Brycen,
Always.
thanks also for being here. You did a great job. Next week, I'm a little nervous about it. It's Joe and Ed Brown, the Brown brothers from 1981, my teammates. So we're going to go from 2 quarterbacks to 2 linemen. So this will be interesting.
Oh boy.
Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you soon.